guys, it's Jen and I'm back with another video. This time we're doing something a little bit different. I'm doing a frequently asked questions video. If you guys are new to my channel, I have video series on my time teaching in Japan and in Korea, and also my time as a study abroad student in the UK. If you guys want to check out those videos, I'll have them linked below in the description box. Or you could just stay tuned and listen to the questions as I answer them. I have a lot of questions, usually about Japan and Korea, so I'm probably just going to try and answer them all here, so stay tuned. So the number one question I seem to get a lot is, how did you teach abroad in Japan? I originally wanted to go through the GEPIK program, which is the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. It's a government-sponsored program in Japan. It's probably the most popular option if you're looking to teach in Japan. It is, however, a year-long process, which is why I opted out of that option. I decided to go with a middleman company, a company called Interac, and the process is just a lot quicker. But if you're looking to go to Japan, I would really recommend JET, only because JET tends to give you a lot more perks, your pay is a bit better, and they also pay for your ticket to come to Japan and also when you leave. You can renew, I believe, up to 5 years. I'm not so sure about that anymore, but I think you can renew your contract up to 5 years. So if you're looking to teach in Japan, I would highly recommend the JET program. If you don't want to go through a year-long process, that is the JET program, maybe look into middleman companies. I would recommend RCS, which is the company that I went through the second time. I did Interac for a year, and then I moved on to another company, RCS, before I became a direct hire in the city that I was working with and just worked directly for their Board of Education. For Korea, it was kind of the same. I went through a middleman company called Canadian Connection. You don't have to be Canadian to sign up for this company, even though it is a Canadian company. You don't have to be Canadian. And they were great. I had a really good school, and in Korea it's a little bit different. They pay for your ticket to go and to come back. They do reimburse you, and they also pay for your rent and some of your utilities. I think the only utilities I paid for was like water and electricity. Internet was taken care of, and rent was taken care of from my school. So it was a really good deal teaching in Korea. So yeah, if you guys are interested in doing that, I would recommend those ways. You can also look for jobs either on Gaijinpot and Dave's ESL Cafe. Now, a word of warning for these websites, you're going to see a lot of people being very negative on these boards. Don't listen to them. There is some truth to some of them, but don't let that stop you from wanting to teach in Japan and Korea. Just be smart about it and choose wisely, depending on whatever option you choose. Korea also, I didn't mention this, but Korea also does have its own government-sponsored program called EPIK and GEPIK. I think GEPIK is the same thing as EPIK, only that they're more in like the Gyeonggi prefecture. But if EPIK and GEPIK are the government-sponsored programs of Korea, and they're basically, it's the same as like JET. So if you're looking to teach in Japan and Korea, those options are available to you. So there's lots of options. So just give it a look. Gaijinpot and Dave's ESL Cafe, I would recommend to start looking for jobs. And again, I'll have all this information in the description box below. So you can just look on those if you guys are interested in doing any of that. Another question that I get a lot is, do you need to be a certified teacher to teach in Japan or Korea? And the answer, really, you can be. I knew a lot of people who were legitimate teachers from their home countries who were teaching in Japan and Korea, but honestly, especially with like Japan, the only requirements that you need is that you need to have a 4-year degree. Any major is fine. And you have to have something equivalent to show that you have at least 12 years of English instruction in order to teach in Japan. For Korea, it's a little bit more strict. You still have to have a 4-year degree. TESOL or TESOL certification is highly recommended. It could change your pay if you have those certifications. And also, Korea requires something called an apostille. So you need to have a government, like a federal government background check, and it has to be apostille, which is something that Japan doesn't really require, but Korea does. So just be on the lookout for that. Also, getting that apostille background check can take anywhere from 1 month to 3 months, so you need to plan accordingly for that. It takes a while for you to get that apostille, so plan accordingly. As far as like in Japan, having like I get a lot of questions about people asking, do I need to know Japanese before I teach in Japan? And the answer to that, it really depends on where you are, but I would say yes and no. It couldn't hurt to have some familiarity with the Japanese language before you go to Japan, only because Japan is very... English is not a language that's really frequently used in Japan. It may be in Tokyo you could find someone who speaks English and can help you, but most likely when you are placed in Japan by your company, you're going to be in a rural area, and the further you are from a city, the less English is used or understood. So having some kind of familiarity in Japanese would just be beneficial to you. I mean, when you go to the grocery store, you're going to need to be able to read at least, you know, salt from sugar, that kind of thing. So yeah, having that kind of background in Japanese would, I think, make your life a lot easier in Japan. I knew people who went to Japan who knew zero Japanese. They did learn when they got there, but it is quite hard, I think, to navigate in Japan without at least the basic fundamentals of the Japanese language. Korea, on the other hand, seems to be a bit more English savvy, I guess. I got away with a lot in Korea by just using English. I didn't really learn Korean when I was in Korea, namely because I could just get around easily with very, very basic Korean and English. So I guess in Korea it's a lot easier to just use English. However, in Japan I would recommend to at least be able to read hiragana, katakana, know your kana, know some kanji, know some basic phrases, and it can make your life a whole lot easier. Okay, so another question that I get a lot is, what is it like to be a black woman in Japan and Korea? And I have some videos on that as well. Being black in Japan and Korea, it's different than being abroad in different countries, mainly because a lot of Japanese people have never seen a black person in real life. Same with Korea. So I would say if you're going to Japan and Korea and you are of color, just be prepared to be stared at quite a bit. I would say you get used to it, but there were days, I'm not gonna lie, there were days where I just didn't want to leave my apartment because I just couldn't deal with being stared at just by going to like the grocery store or something like that. You just want to be normal for a second, and you're not when you're living in Japan and Korea because you're different. So yeah, it's kind of like that. People are going to want to touch your skin, they're going to want to touch your hair, they're going to want to take pictures with you, and some days it's flattering and other days it's just like, please leave me alone. So yeah, being black in Japan and Korea, there's a lot of that. I never once felt any kind of like racism against me when I was in Japan and Korea. Everyone just seemed to be very curious. There was some kind of ignorant statements sometimes, you know, people, you know, didn't think I was from America, or, you know, that kind of thing. Surprised that I was an English teacher, that kind of thing. But it was never with like malice. People weren't mean to me when I was in Japan and Korea. In fact, people were very, very nice, kind, polite, that kind of thing. Just the only thing that kind of bothered me, I guess, was the staring, especially in Korea. They just stare at you hard. It wouldn't be unusual for me and my husband to be walking down the street and we pass someone and they stop walking, like they're walking in the opposite direction, and they stop walking and they turn all the way around and just watch us as we walk down the street. That happened a lot. And you just keep going on with your life. There's nothing you can really do about it. Roll your eyes, wave at them, whatever. It's that you're different. That's just the way it is. So, other than that, no, it was totally fine being in Japan and Korea as a black woman. I felt safe. Nothing happened to me the whole time I was there. It was fine. Being black in the UK, the UK has a large population of black people, usually of like African or West Indian descent. So I never felt other there as well. It was only when I opened my mouth and I started speaking, they heard that accent. They were just like, "Oh, are you from America?" And I mean, that's about it. It wasn't any different from being black in, say, like North America or any other Western country. It was fine. So if you're nervous about traveling abroad because you're black, especially in Asia, I would say don't worry about it. People were kind to me. It was fine. You should do it. Don't be scared. And speaking on being a black woman in Asia, a lot of questions I get is, how do you maintain your hair? So when I was in Japan, I was natural. I was transitioning to being natural. And I maintained my hair myself the whole time I was in Japan. Only because most of the black hair salons were in Tokyo, and I lived about an hour outside Tokyo at best when I took the bullet train. And also they were quite expensive. You could get your hair braided in Tokyo for like the equivalent of $200 US, which I wasn't about, So I just maintained my hair myself. I would order my products online and just order a bulk order and have it for 2-3 months worth of hair product. And that's what I did when I was in Japan. The websites that I use, I will link below. Hair care in Korea was a lot easier and a lot more affordable for me. There were dedicated shops within Korea that were black owned that would send me my products. And again, I'll link those in the description box. Yeah, it was a lot more accessible. They do have hair salons in the Itaewon. If you're looking to get your hair relaxed, if you're looking to get the Magic Straight relaxer, which I never did, but I heard a lot about. I think the salon's name is Nelly. That's the one that's really popular. She's Korean, but she's really good with black hair, from what I heard. I've never been to that salon. But again, in Korea, I maintained my hair myself by just ordering products, and it was fine. I locked my hair about 8 months ago when I was in the UK, and that was pretty easy to find. Like I said, there's a large population in the UK. The salon I went to is in Nottingham, and it was called Shea, and I think is the only one in Nottingham that does locks. And she does all sizes, regular traditional dreadlocks to my size locks, which are micro locks. So she was great. I went to her the whole time I was in the UK, and I'm still doing the lock thing. I've since moved back to the US, and I have another loctician that I'm seeing. But yeah, it wasn't that big of a problem maintaining my hair, my natural hair, when I was in Japan and Korea. And yeah, there's so many websites you can use, so many places you could go to. It will be a little bit more expensive than I guess what you're used to if you're from North America, but that's just the way it is. If you want to get your hair and maintain your hair, that's just the cost of it, I guess. Another question I get is about my study abroad experience in the UK and how did I find the school that I went to. I used a program called Across the Pond. I'll link them below. And it was a website that I used where I basically had my own personal study abroad advisor who would recommend schools for me. I had a choice of a list of schools, and I applied to about 5 of them, and I got into all of them, and I narrowed it down to about 3, and then I made my decision for my final school. They were fantastic, absolutely great. They would catch up, do updates with me while I was studying abroad. They helped me with my visa information, all that kind of stuff they help you with. And the last few questions, I've mentioned my husband a few times. I don't think you guys have really seen him on my videos, but I mentioned him a couple times every now and then. And the number one question I get is my husband Japanese? Which I guess makes sense because we met in Japan, we got married in Korea. So yeah, I guess the assumption is that he would be Japanese or something, but no, he's not. My husband's American. We were both working for the same company in Japan, and we became friends, started dating, and then we got married and stuff. So yeah, no, my husband isn't Japanese, he's American. Another question I get is, what does my husband do for work? My husband is a VF. So stupid. My husband, he does work in VF and motion graphics. So he does mainly like film work and stuff like that. And we've been married for about 2 years now. Woohoo! Yay! If you like this video, give the thumbs up, and if you really like it, hit the subscribe button. And also comment on what videos you would like to see from this channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!